You can do all of these other hacks you see on these videos with like, the little things, the little tips and tricks, but if your sleep is bad, if you're not sleeping enough, then what's the point? That's like the Pareto principle, like the 20% of action that has the biggest like outsized impact, the 80% of the results, right? It's mainly sleep. Sleep falls in that category. I used to be someone who would go to sleep at like, 2 a.m., 12 a.m. I'd be like on my phone, just like doom scrolling until I was like tired enough to go to sleep, and I'd like finally put my computer to the side or put my phone to the side, and then I'd fall asleep. And, then I'd wake up inconsistently, I'd sleep inconsistently. The next day was obviously going to be like thrown off, and it just puts you in this cycle of like, you know, just overconsumption. You're tired, the next day your computer's right next to you, you just go on that again. It's just kind of a nightmare. If you don't have good sleep hygiene and good like, you know, yeah, good sleep hygiene basically, then you're kind of fucked because sleep is super important. We all understand this. The difference between the days when you get 6 hours of sleep or 9 hours of sleep is insane. And we've all experienced this. So, how do we actually improve our sleep? There's a lot of like advice going around, but there's like a few that it misses that are super, super important. So, the first one is light, and in particular morning sunlight. So, when you wake up, the first thing on your mind should be to get morning sunlight. So just go outside and have between 10 minutes and 30 minutes of sunlight depending on your weather. Like I live in, like you can probably see it, I don't know, it's pretty overexposed, but like it's cloudy pretty much all the time here, so it takes kind of a while for me. But yeah, so it's like 30 minutes for me. If you live in somewhere sunny, then it would be like 10 minutes, it could be 5 minutes. Yeah. The reason you do this is because it fixes like your cortisol. So it's like a cortisol spike in the beginning of the day, which gets you like awake and alert. And it also increases your dopamine, so you're happier the rest of the day. It's basically just like a super big outsized impact. And you might not think, when you're thinking of sleep, you might expect me to say something like closer to bedtime. But a lot of this is actually the things you do during the day and the things you do prior to sleeping that actually have a bigger impact on your sleep than you'd realize. So it's kind of like counterintuitive in that regard, but it's important that you understand this stuff. Under light, you also need to understand that if you're staring at a screen, or if you have like really bright fluorescent lights before you're trying to go to sleep, that's also going to mess it up because your brain's going to think it's daytime. It's going to like decrease the melatonin and stuff like that. So it's going to mess it up. So try to dim your lights, and I heard candles are good. So I don't have candles, but I think that's something I would probably want to do in the future. The next one is temperature, right? So when your body is getting ready to go to sleep, the first thing it does is decrease your internal body temperature, right? And when it's waking up, it will increase your core body temperature, right? So we can use this for, we can use like habits that will change the core body temperature to get you to be more awake or more sleepy. So in our case, we're trying to go to sleep, right? So how do we decrease the core body temperature? So there's things you want to avoid. Exercise, because exercise increases it. Eating, because eating increases it. And then there's something you should do, which is take like a warm shower or a hot shower 1 hour to 2 hours before you go to sleep. Because, a little bit confusingly, if you have like a hot thing on your skin, or if your body perceives like, hot stuff outside, it will increase or decrease the core body temperature because, it's trying to like maintain homeostasis, right? So you can do that, and that helps you to get into like the sleepy mood, I guess. So yeah. The next one is eating, right? I kind of touched on this before, but you want to eat most of your calories like in the early and middle of the day, right? You don't want to be having like a huge, large meal before you go to sleep, just because it's going to mess up your quality of sleep. It's going to like might give you like indigestion. It is not good. So it's just, yeah. If you want to see how all of this works, you can download an app called Sleep Cycle. It's on your phone, and you can just put your phone next to your bed, and then click start on Sleep Cycle, and it'll use your breath and your movement to calculate how good your sleep has been. So yeah, the next one is exercise. You don't want to be exercising too like close to bedtime. Similar, it'll increase your core body temperature, which is not what you want. And ideally, you'd want to exercise as early in the day as possible. So realistically, you know, for some people's schedule, it's not going to work to go to the gym in the morning, for example, but that would be ideal for your sleep. The next thing is consistency. So you've probably heard this before, but basically, if you can wake up around the same time and go to sleep around the same time every night, your body will get into the right circadian rhythm. It will be able to have like a consistent schedule. And if you couple this with all the other things I talked about, like morning sunlight and exercise and eating and all that stuff, then your body will have like a very consistent schedule and a very like strong like internal body clock. So you've heard of those people, I don't know if this is you, but who just wake up like before their alarm, 2 minutes before their alarm every single day, right? That's just because they're very consistent with their sleep schedule and they have a very strong internal clock. The way you get that is basically just by being consistent with your actual sleep habits. So every night you go to sleep at 10 o'clock and every day you wake up at 7 or whatever it is for you, right? Pretty simple. Yeah, so the next one is having this is like a bonus tip, I guess we already covered 5, but the next one is having a cool room, right? So what I have is just like a fan, and I just put on the fan before I'm gonna go to sleep, like while I'm in the shower, and then it makes the room like cool, and it's much like nicer if you're like sleeping in a hot room versus a cool room. And then if you're hot, you can just like put your hands out or put your foot out or whatever, and then it'll like start to cool you down, which is helpful. So yeah, those are the main ones. If you have all that covered, that should be most of it. There's a few other things, but that's like the Pareto principle, like the 20-80, right? So yeah, coaching is down below. If you have any questions, yeah, I can help you with any like addictions you have or any issues or any particular problems for you. And yeah, have a good one. Peace.